that's what we're going to try to do today in this conversation, is dig in a little bit more and see, you know, where this possibly could impact the company. So first, I'm going to start with the data that we do have. As you can see here on the screen, guys, this is our overall net score, our proprietary metric of spending intentions. Still extremely high in the 50s, mid 50s is a very, very good number. As you can see here, of any vendors that have 50 plus, both Okta Auth0 and Okta standalone are in the top 5, top 6. This is a premier company. It has had a premier reputational impact. And I'm very curious to see if this is going to change. But as of right now, the data is extremely strong on this company. And we're really just curious about what happened here. So what I'm going to do is just go around the panel and ask anecdotally. First and foremost, what is your understanding of it and the impact it has to clients? Graham, I'm going to start with you, please.
Sure. So my understanding of the event is that Okta leverages a third party for IT support. That third party had been compromised by the, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, the Lapsus group, who well after the fact released a screenshot, I think on like Signal or in some group, proving that they were in the network. And then retroactively, Okta had to go back and disclose publicly and to its customers who may or may not have been impacted. And that lapse of delay between when the actual event happened and when they released it and have notified people has led to a lot of concern in the industry. So, you know, broad perspective from me, it's really hard to judge from an external point of view with what information they actually had to work with, because small breaches or lapses in security happen all the time, and it's hard to know whether it led to a material breach or not. But it does seem like in this case that they could have and likely should have done some sort of a notification earlier in the process.
Yeah, it was January, early January, where the breach happened. It was a third-party call center service that actually got, that was the one that actually was breached. And they didn't release anything until March, and they didn't release it until the screenshot came out. So it was a very interesting reaction. It was sort of a case study in how not to handle your crisis management. But I'm going to go around the room in a little bit and just sort of ask from the beginning perspective what everyone feels is their initial reaction to this. And Bradley, if you don't mind, sir, I'm going to go to you next.
Yeah, that was exactly my understanding as well. It also sounds like the extent of the access was no more than what a customer support representative would have at Okta, which seemed to be relatively limited, although the number of accounts that were accessed with that account was relatively high. I can't remember how many, a few hundred, so that it actually were impacted. But from what I know today, it's hard to know. It's hard to know whether or not you should be concerned if you are not one of the folks that were immediately, or whose accounts were accessed using this support personnel's account. So it seems relatively limited to me at this point, but the lack of disclosure is definitely concerning.
Yeah, and to your point, it was, I believe, 366 customers is what they said, and Okta does have over 15,000 clients on their roster. So we are talking about like less than 3%. But still, I mean, if you're one of those 366, I don't think that makes you feel much better, right? If you're on that list, then it's a different feeling entirely. Michael, I'm going to ask you, sir, just generally, what's your overall reaction to the breach as an end user?
Yeah, I echo the same comments. Still a little bit too early to understand from a security perspective if it's impactful. It's because of the self-inflicted issue here related to the notification, the handling of the actual security incident itself, whether what we see that's been published is accurate or wholly accurate or somewhat accurate. It's definitely a concern. And for my organization, it's the second roughly similar security breach from a major vendor that we've had in the first 3 months this year. So it's a bit of frustration as well for us that, while it's nothing new, it's again just yet another example of a third party poorly handling, well, one, their own security that was the source of the breach, and then we're all subject to breaches, but then the notification, which made it much, much more worse and potentially impactful, as I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, around future state relationship with Okta. But right now where we sit, I don't want to use the word comfortable. We're not comfortable from certainly not comfortable from a customer perspective, but comfortable that our Okta environment is secure.
Okay. And Jim, also to you, sir, initial reactions to this for your organization and for, you know, your perspective when the breach came out. What was your initial reaction to the situation?
So the way our organization found out was really through the media. Yeah. And that was very concerning because, you know, this is some of those things that you hear about. You don't want to make the news, right? You want, you know. So in this case, it was very concerning that it was brought out by the media, and the delay in terms of months was really concerning as well. And, you know, the fact that Okta has since, you know, stepped up and communicated out in terms of what they found, what they did, and, you know, some of the things that they've done, you know, short term, it makes us feel a little more comfortable in terms of, you know, staying with Okta. But I think the delay in terms of the amount of months really was concerning in terms of who was managing the crisis aspect of this, you know, this breach.
Yeah, it seems I'm going to get into a little bit about what the actual impact is potentially to the clients before we get into reputational damage, because I don't think that's anything the mainstream media has done well. So from my understanding, and guys, please correct me if I'm wrong, there was a 5-day period where this particular group had unfettered access before it was really noticed and stopped. So you had a third party that was basically responsible for their relationship with Okta, and they had 5 days on this person's machine and this person's network. Not really sure what the motive was, because Lapsus has yet to ask for ransomware, has yet to ask for any money. So I'm just trying to figure out, and maybe you guys can help us understand, A, what were they doing in there for those 5 days? And what is the potential impact to those 366 customers? We do know Okta's FedRAMP certified. The Department of Justice is one of their clients. So to your understanding, I know some of this is going to be conjecture because none of you actually know for sure, but it's a lot better than my opinion. What exactly is the impact to clients potentially here? Like, what were they able to gather? What kind of information, and how could that be used? I'm going to go around the room again. Graham, if you don't mind, sir.
So I think there's two potential impacts here. One is, and again, I believe it was Sykes that was the support desk or the call center provider. They have many customers, and I don't know, ignorant of their disclosure, if this person exclusively worked for Okta or also had other customer accounts and clients. But just the fact that this group was targeting that call center, targeting that, called the fourth party, right, should make every company more concerned about who their third parties are using for support, whether it's call center or IT support. I think with Okta in particular, because it's one of the cornerstone solutions of authentication, if that service were fundamentally compromised, it would allow someone, you know, like Lapsus or a ransomware group, significant impact on those target organizations. So I'd say there's two things here. One is we don't know if there was a ransom demand or a demand. I mean, just the fact that they had compromised Okta, even with no data loss, could, as we're seeing, hurt their reputation. Right. And be a lever that they could ask for Okta to make them a payment, just to stay silent. So that alone might have been their objective. I suspect, though, that they were really trying to use Okta to get at bigger targets and other targets that they could further attacks and continue monetizing.